Hello and welcome to our video on how to ace your hospital job interview. My name is George and today we're diving into the art of acing that crucial interview and landing your dream job in the medical field. In this video, we'll go through valuable insight into the essential skills required to excel in interviews, which can transcend pharmacy and even extend into the broader healthcare sector, maybe even beyond. However, I can't comment on those other sectors. I've never been in those interviews, but hey, interview is an interview and skills are skills. So I'll also provide some links below this to downloadable resources and also a link to offering my personal one-to-one coaching service to further enhance your interview preparation and simulation and empowering you to land that coveted job offer. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So let's start at why we even have interviews. So interviews do serve several purposes in the hiring process, even if they may seem a bit archaic. So while shortlisting and applications assess the candidate's qualifications, skills, and experience needed for the role, interviews allow employers to really drill down and assess what's stated in the resume by understanding how that person personifies that resume. It's easy to write out the perfect sentence and personify the perfect person, but in real life, are you actually that person on paper? So the first thing they look at is cultural fit. So interviews provide a great opportunity for employers to evaluate how well the candidate, yourself, would fit into the company or organization's culture and those team dynamics. This can include assessing communication style, work ethic, and interpersonal skills. Interviews also allow the clarification of information. Interviews allow both parties to clarify questions and concerns that may have arisen from that resume or application, such as gaps in employment history or specific skills or experiences stated. They also allow a behavioural assessment element. So the behaviours of both the face-to-face interview also allow you to understand how candidates have handled situations in the past, which can also then provide an insight into how they might perform in the future in this role, which is likely going to have some barriers, some issues that might arise, and how you handle them, problem solve them. Demonstrating an interest. So interviews give candidates a chance to demonstrate their interest in a position of the company, but also allow you to understand their enthusiasm and passion for the role. That's something that you can really drive across in person, which on paper is hard to get across without sounding a little bit weird. Interviews are also a perfect way to understand the decision-making process. Ultimately, interviews help employers to make informed decisions about which candidate is the best fit for their role and organisation as a whole. While interviews can be time consuming and sometimes nerve wracking for the candidate, they do remain a valuable tool for both employers and job seekers in the hiring process. And in this video, we'll go through that interviews are a skill, and with any skill, it can be learned, it can be developed, and it can be nurtured. So therefore, you can ace interviews. And as I mentioned before, interviews are interviews, whether it's in medical or in another sector. It's a skill, and as long as you prepare in the right way, you will be successful at that interview stage. So let's crack on into what interviews really look for. So what are interviewers really looking for? So looking for several things. So one, capability. Can you do the job that is required? Two, reliability. Can I leave you alone? Can I leave you alone to undertake this role safely and effectively? Manageability. So can I manage you in this role or will you cause friction within the team? Willingness. So are you willing to contribute to the success and overall outcomes and challenges of the role? Are you willing to put in the effort to make this job a success? As I'm sure you have all heard the 7 P's of planning, which I believe is from my old military adage. It is a bit of a tongue twister, but it's prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And guess what? As you're watching this, I'm sure you all live by this statement. Proper planning enables proper performance. Therefore, I imagine you probably have also heard the saying, success is 50% what you say, 25% how you say it, and a whopping 55% on how you present yourself and your personality. And guess what? It's absolutely true, especially in the competitive world of interviews. So, moving on from this, here is your first share box of golden nuggets. So, let's start with the first 5 factors crucial for a successful outcome at interview. First one, preparation. So, you've got to do your homework, research a hospital, the position, and be ready to showcase your knowledge and passion to work in this role at this organization or trust. We all know it's easy to apply for a role once you've got your CV and personal statement sorted, and it only takes a few words for you to change to allow you to apply to multiple different places. So, really get across why you have applied here. Be truthful to ensure it's valid, and what do you offer that others don't. The second point, second key nugget, impression. First impressions matter. Now your introduction and set the tone for the entire interview. Shake hands, present a confident image, talk, think, act methodically throughout. It's a stressful situation, and if you present a calm and controlled candidate, the impression left carries a lot of weight. Third golden nugget is facts. And as just mentioned, confidence is key. However, confidence not backed by clinical accuracy or wrongly answered questions can leave a sour taste of an unconsciously incompetent candidate in the interviewer's eyes. Ensure you are backing up your claims with solid evidence and examples. If you don't know a clinical answer, marks can still be given to the referral to key resources or colleagues. With key referrals, be ensured to be explicit, i.e., check bloods versus I would check creatinine clearance, I would check platelets, I would check neutrophils is a lot better than checking bloods. Bloods is a vast spectrum of key attributes. Golden nugget number 4, prove you have the skill. So don't just talk the talk, demonstrate it by walking the walk. Demonstrate those abilities and experiences. Each answer and statement is fallible without examples and evidence to back it up. I can say I have the best time management skills. I can say I'm the best manager. I can say I'm the most clinical person in the world. Yet, without providing rationale and reasoning, these statements carry little weight. So, here's a top tip equation for you when creating your interview answers. So, the statement that answers the question with an example and how it makes it relevant to the role. We'll come on to this key equation a bit later, but it's a key way of answering any interview question. The fifth and final golden nugget in this share box before we move on is say you want the job and why. Show your passion, your enthusiasm for this role. Explain why you are the perfect fit. What separates you, especially at a junior level where most have had the same rotations and the same experiences. What else can you bring? For example, external to pharmacy, sporting teams, previous roles in another sector. Maybe you worked in the retail or over the counter at McDonald's, say. The key here is to link it back to the role and make it relevant. As mentioned before, statement, example, relevance. So, in summary, prepare. Preparation, research the hospital, the position, thoroughly demonstrate your knowledge during the interview. First impressions, nail the introduction and set the tone for a positive interview. Back up your claims, support your statements with evidence and examples, demonstrate your skill, showcase your abilities rather than just talking about them, and finally, express your interest. Convey your passion for the role and explain why you're the ideal candidate. So let's move on and let's dive into the general setup of the healthcare interview. Namely, in this video, we'll go through the hospital pharmacy interview, but the order might be different, but generally the things will be the same. So first off, there's usually an OSCE, so an objective structural clinical examination. This might be in the form of a drug chart or a role play, but be prepared for scenarios like this, like warfarin counselling, calculations, drug chart screening, or medicines reconciliation exercises. The second part is going to be about you, why us. So craft a compelling story about yourself and explain why you're drawn to this particular hospital. Research and prep, as we mentioned before. The third part is usually a critical thinking. Showcase your ability on how you think on your feet, how you problem solve all these problems that will likely occur throughout this role. Clinical questions, be ready to demonstrate your clinical nuance, medical knowledge, and expertise. Remember, this will be at the level you're currently working at, so just have a think around how you answer those questions, linking it back to that critical thinking. And finally, all interviews end with do you have any questions? And I'm sure you've already heard this before. This is crucial. Yes, you do have questions. You don't have to ask insightful questions, but definitely questions that demonstrate your interest in the role and organization. So now we know the general setup of the interview and what to expect. Here's the key tips around acing those questions that occur in the interview. So linking back into the equation technique I mentioned a minute ago is great for answering all questions presented in interview. It's a simple technique that allows you to ensure that you convey your best answer and facilitate the interviewer to understand why you are the best candidate for this role. Now, first and foremost, interviews and responses are marked. It's the only fair way, i.e., 1 mark for poor answers, 5 for great answers. And guess what? There's a mark scheme. Well, it's a little bit imaginary. It's the perfect candidate. And the biggest secret is that you have the marks being given to you in the form of the personal specification. Therefore, by following the knowledge and being prepared to be that person in the personal specification, you can nail each answer no matter how the question is worded or presented. I'll next go through the 3 top tips for answering any interview question. So the final 3 top tips of this video are extrapolating out the equation I mentioned earlier, a key way of answering any interview question. So the first one is to make every answer relevant to the prospective job role and use concrete examples. The second is to base your answers on the why. The why you, why should you get this job? What makes you right for this role? And why us? Why this hospital? Why this organization? Why this company? And third and finally, take some time to pick out the key attributes from that personal specification, also known as the mark scheme, and develop a structured approach to answering questions with examples on each. Do this planning and preparation pre-interview and allow your time to drill your answers and get the best response at the tip of your tongue. Thus, you can then present a clear, calm, and competent candidate in the midst of a stressful interview. Who would not want that person on their team? So that's all from me. If you require any further guidance or support, check out the links below. And remember, from all of us at GB Pharmacy team, we're rooting for you, wishing you the best of luck in interview, and I hope you get the job you so much desire. You've got this.